Welcome back. It's still Monday, September 1st, 2014. This is still the Morning Edition. I'm Yael Wisner-Levy. Thank you for staying with us. The British Jewish community organized a rally yesterday calling on the government, police, and public to show zero tolerance for anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. The rally comes against the backdrop of a worrying rise in European anti-Semitism in recent weeks. We're going to be now joined by London by our I-24 news correspondent there, Jonathan Sacerdoti. Jonathan, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Yael.
So you yourself were one of the organizers at the rally. Estimates are putting it at 3,500 or 4,500 people protesting yesterday?
That's right. This enormous group of people gathered together outside the Royal Courts of Justice in London to indicate their dissatisfaction at the level of protection that they felt the Jewish community is getting in the United Kingdom in light of this increase in anti-Semitic attacks that we've been reading about and witnessing over the last few months.
Was this high turnout then a surprise for you as an organizer?
Well, one's never sure how many people are going to turn up to a rally of that sort, but no, it wasn't such a surprise because over the last couple of months there's been an enormous surge in the number of people who've been contacting those active in the Jewish community, asking what can be done in order to stem this tide of anti-Semitism, which has been sweeping across Europe and has reached the United Kingdom. So far in Britain, we've been relatively fortunate in the sense that we haven't witnessed any of the actual killings that they've had in France and Brussels, for example, but there's nothing that says that that can't make it over the channel into the United Kingdom. And British Jews are very afraid now of the level of protection that they're getting. They feel it's not sufficient, and they're calling on the British government, the British police force, to take seriously this threat, not just to say that they'll protect Jews against all forms of anti-Semitism, but to actually back it up with prosecutions of people, for example, holding banners supporting terrorist organizations or saying that Jews should be killed in gas chambers or Hitler was right. These sorts of banners, of course, being seen in the rallies taking place in London and beyond in the rest of the UK in the light of the actions in Gaza of the Israeli army.
We've spoken, of course, about this worrying rise of anti-Semitism, not only in Europe, but also in the UK in recent weeks. Would you say there's a direct, then, connection between Operation Protective Edge and the rising of anti-Semitism?
The message yesterday was clear that no world news can justify anti-Semitic or any other kind of racist acts taking place on the citizens of Britain. And that was the message that the crowd was putting across very clearly, that these 4,500 people are proud British citizens who are demanding their right to be protected under the law from any kind of racism. And the attacks that we're talking about range from things that seem relatively small, like verbal attacks or attacks on Twitter, but are definitely something that scare people when they happen, all the way through to physical attacks on Jewish people, people having things thrown at them or being beaten, synagogue buildings with bomb scares. There have actually been genuine terror threats that were foiled by the police over recent years on Jewish premises. And the list goes on. There's a long list now, as there's been an enormous increase in the number of anti-Semitic attacks on that community.
Jonathan, we've also spoken about the British Jewish community as a whole, as perhaps a community that was less involved in Israeli affairs at times and so forth. Would you say that the rise in anti-Semitism, plus, of course, yesterday's high turnout, shows now a different trend among British Jews, maybe a more proactive trend?
Some have definitely said that they feel it's time to act, and where British Jews were perhaps a bit quieter in the past, they feel that now they need to speak out, because that quietness has encouraged or allowed this anti-Semitism to raise its head and to develop in a way that's definitely not just a problem for British Jews, but also for all of Britain. Because when a minority community like Jews is feeling afraid, it's a sign that the British values of tolerance and acceptance and protection of minorities are not being upheld. And the message was clear, not just from Jewish people, also at the rally. The speakers included Majid Nawaz, the former Islamist extremist, now chair of the Quilliam Foundation, which works to de-radicalize and target and deal with radical extremist Islam. He spoke very powerfully about the convergence of the far left, the far right, and Islamists when what they have in common, despite their rather different positions on most issues, is their hatred of Jews and Israel. So he made it very clear that this is an issue not just for Jews to worry about and not just for Jews to deal with. Alongside him, we had Chief Rabbi Ephraim Mervis of the British Chief Rabbi, who spoke very powerfully. We had the author and commentator Dougls Murray, who is also a non-Jew. So it was very clear from this enormous audience there and from these powerful speakers, including also a Holocaust survivor warning of what can happen when anti-Semitism is not dealt with, that this is something very important for the whole of the nation to deal with, especially its Jewish community, but also other minority communities and also the nation at large.
There was, of course, extensive media coverage over the event, yesterday's event. The question now is what's next, and what is are the organizers calling for, and is it something that can be pointed to or shown to the British government, asking the British government to intervene?
Well, in recent days, there's been an article from Theresa May saying that she took very seriously the rise in anti-Semitism. Eric Pickles, the community secretary, has also said similar things. But what the crowd yesterday were saying is that it's good to hear those things. The police are doing some of their job in protecting the community, but people want to see more. They want to see actions from the police and from the government, and they want to see that every single example of hate speech or hate crime against Jews is prosecuted. So that's what was being called for by the organizers and the crowd yesterday. And that's what we will expect the government to step up to, that bar, and prove that they're willing to actually implement the existing laws, which should adequately protect Jews, as they do other minority groups, and in order to punish and bring to justice those people who do persecute and discriminate against Jewish people in the United Kingdom.
Jonathan Sacerdoti there in London, thank you for this morning chat, and thank you for organizing such a rally yesterday in London. Hopefully, of course, this will fall on good ears and will serve to act as well. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.